we're gonna be starting the book of Proverbs. We're gonna be reading 1 to 15, so it might actually end up being a short Bible study. And the next week we're doing 16 to 31. Yeah, 31,
I need
because we
my
can't forget the
highlighter.
Proverbs 31. Oh my goodness, I saw what you reposted when you everything's important in the Bible. You end up highlighting the whole thing. That was great. I
Hold
love
on, I
that.
gotta
Oh my
get my
gosh, so
highlighter.
real.
I suppose I'll begin with Proverbs chapter 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, son of David, king of Israel. To know wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, to receive instruction in wise dealing, in righteousness, justice, and equity. To give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance, to understand a proverb and a saying. The words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and forsake not your mother's teaching, for they are a graceful garland for your head, and pendants for your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. If they say, come with us, let us lie in wait for blood. Let us ambush the innocent without reason. Like Sheol, let us swallow them alive, and whole, like those who go down to the pit. We shall find all precious goods. We shall fill their houses with plunder. Throw in your lot among us. We will all have one purse. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Hold back your foot from their paths, for their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed blood. For in vain it is a net spread in the sight of any bird. But these men lie in wait for their own blood. They set an ambush for their own lives. Such are the ways of everyone who is greedy for unjust gain. It takes away the life of its possessors. Wisdom cries aloud in the street. In the market she raises her voice. At the head of the noisy streets she cries out. At the entrance of the city gates she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? If you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you, because I have called and you refuse to listen. Have stretched out my hand, and no one else has heeded. Because you have ignored all my counsel and would have none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when terror strikes you like a storm. And your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. Then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me. Because they hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of the Lord, would have none of my counsel, and despised all my reproof. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their way, and have their fill of their own devices. For the simple are killed by their turning away, and the complacency of fools destroys them. But whoever listens to me will dwell secure, and will be at ease without dread of disaster. Proverbs chapter 2. My son, if you receive my words, and treasure up my commandments with you, making your ear attentive to wisdom, and inclining your heart to understanding, yes, if you call out for insight, and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver, and search for it as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom from his mouth, come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity, guarding the paths of justice and watching over the way of his saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice and equity, every good path. For wisdom will come into your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will watch over you. Understanding will guard you, delivering you from the way of evil, from men of perverted speech, who forsake the paths of uprightness, to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice in doing evil, who and delight in the perverseness of evil, men whose paths are crooked, and who are devious in their ways. So you will be delivered from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words, who forsakes the companion of her youth and forgets the covenant of her God. For her house sinks down to death, and her paths to the departed. None who go to her come back, nor do they regain the paths of life. So you will walk in the way of the good and keep to the paths of the righteous, for the upright will inhabit the land, and those with integrity will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the treacherous will be rooted out of it. Proverbs chapter 3. My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you. Let not be steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart, so you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord, and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh, and refreshment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth, and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, or be wary of his reproof. For the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. Blessed is the one who finds wisdom, and the one who excuse me, and the one who gets understanding. For the gain from her is better than gain from silver, and her profit better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called blessed. The Lord by wisdom founded the earth. By understanding he established the heavens. By his knowledge the deeps broke open, and the clouds dropped down the dew. My son, do not lose sight of these. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, and they will be life for your soul, adornment for your neck. Then you will walk on your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. If you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet. Do not be afraid of sudden terror or of the ruin of the wicked. When it comes, for the Lord will be your confidence, and will keep your foot from being caught. Do not withhold goods from those to whom it is due, when it is in your power to do it. Do not say to your neighbor, "Go, and come again tomorrow, I will give it," when you have it with you. Do not plan evil against your neighbor who dwells trustingly beside you. Do not contend with a man for no reason when he has done you no harm. Do not envy a man of violence, and do not choose any of his ways. For the devious person is an abomination to the Lord, but the upright are in his confidence. The Lord's curse is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the dwelling of the righteous. Toward the scorners he is scornful, but to the humble he gives favor. The wise will inherit honor, but fools get disgrace.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Chat keeps saying that they want you guys to narrate the
AI
Bible.
Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are sweet. Thank you.
Donate your voice samples to AI, and then we'll make
There
an
you
AI
go.
Bible of your voice.
It's probably already happened, to be honest.
So you know that meme
So we did a
that I
switch?
retweeted, and it
Yes.
says when you highlight the important parts of the Bible. Yeah, that was me just now. In
Oh
Proverbs
my.
3.
Oh my.
And this is my second time reading through it. I can't remember what I highlighted the first time in my other Bible, but like in this one I was just taking my highlighter and I was like, yep, that's the one, Chief.
I love Proverbs. It's
Same.
awesome. But yeah, like when Solomon says to heed the words, it reminded me of the commandment, honor your mother and father,
Mhm.
and that your life will be like extended or something. I know I'm kind of butchering the verse, so I apologize. So I find it interesting that he brought it there. And I think something that I had a question, and I don't know if anybody here can answer for me. And I think I asked it on my stream too. Is I find it interesting that Solomon personifies wisdom as a woman, and I'm curious as to why. Someone told me that they were gonna tell me, but I don't know if we ever had the conversation. But I'm honestly really really curious. Why is it personifying it that way?
Um, I mean,
I
I
think.
can
Oh, sorry.
say
Go for it.
maybe. Oh, I was like, I can say maybe what I could think, but I don't want to be wrong, obviously. Because how, like, um, women are meant to be helpers of man. The man has
Mm.
wisdom, it helps him. That's, I guess, how my brain kind of thinks of it. Now that I'm, like, thinking about that question, I was like, well, because Solomon loves women. I mean,
Coleman
that
had
too.
lots of wisdom, right?
Oh my
Unintended.
goodness. But that's what I would personally think, because women are meant to help men, and if I can see as like having just more wisdom as it is helpful to living your life, so that's my thought process. I don't know if anyone has anything different.
um, I think it's very much along those lines. Woman, like the Hebrew word is a feminine noun, so that Solomon's
Mm.
specifically using, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so this idea that um, a woman was valuable, a woman was sought after, and wisdom should be so. Um, the helper aspect, absolutely there. Like wisdom is going to help us through our life. We read the book of Proverbs, like we read Proverbs 3. These aren't guarantees because we can read a verse like, let's see, verse 3. Uh, I can't come up. I'm trying to find one specific. Basically, it says like, if you're wise, the good things can happen to you, and the wicked will get their folly. Right, a very common theme in here. But
Mhm.
if you look around today, it could be easy to think contrary to that. There's a lot of wickedness thriving and surviving. A lot of people who ignore wisdom yet are very famous and rich and successful.
Mhm.
Um, so would it be like, is this outdated? Is this contradictory? Which I think is not the case at all. I think it's that these are the likely consequences. If you live a life of wisdom, you're more likely to avoid hardship. But guess what? People can be jerks and give you
Mhm.
hardship for the sake of it. And it's not, oh, I was wise though. Why did this happen to me? And I think that's a really easy lens we can like accidentally apply when we're looking at the book of Proverbs.
Nice. I like that. Thank you for shedding some light on what it could be, guys. I appreciate that. Does anybody have any uh thoughts or conversation that they kind of wanna, like, anything that stood out or that you might
Mm.
have already had commentary and ideas on?
Mm.
I feel like 1:7 always sticks out. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Um, it's interesting because it's very easy. Like, what does that mean, right? Do I need to be terrified of God? And that's how I can start to get smart? Because that's how the English feels like it reads, right?
Yeah.
Um, but like, we need the cultural context here, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's fear in regards to like a deconstructive fear where like, hey, I'm afraid of getting rejected, so I'm not gonna like go on stream. I'm not gonna like talk to that girl I think is cute or stuff because I'm afraid of being rejected, right? That's a deconstructive fear. But there's a
Mhm.
constructive fear where it's like, hey, I see a baby bear. The bear looks adorable, but I'm not gonna go play with it because a mama bear's probably around the corner ready to pounce me, right?
Mm.
Um, I'm not gonna like be afraid of forests or anywhere bears might live, but I'm gonna know, hey, like mess around, find out kind of thing. Um, and so a fear of God is important and it's priority for us to understand wisdom. If we don't take God seriously, we don't take sin seriously, how can we be wise?
And you know, coming from verse 5, let the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance. You know, a big focus of our walks with Christ should be learning and understanding the world and how to not only bring the word to other people, but how to understand the circumstances that they're in to appropriately uh, guide them to faith. Because a lot of people might not understand the way we do, and they need to essentially be told in a way that they can understand where we're coming from, but also be guided back. I know a lot of people, for example, probably from the western side of the earth, uh, North America for the most part. I'm sorry, like attending here right now. But there are other cultures within the world that have uh, different aspects to their societies that we might not understand at all from where we currently are. And in learning more about those cultures, we can better accommodate ourselves to finding how to bring God's word to them. I know that in Acts, I believe, Paul goes to a Roman pantheon and relates their faith to his and then overtakes it with the beauty of God. And I think that's what's so beautiful about him mentioning the unknown God and bringing that up as uh, sort of a selling point. And I don't want to say selling point, but the concept of understanding where we are, the people we're talking with, and fully understanding our faith is something that I think each of us should work on. And as we work on that, we can grow to help others understand and mentor other people into faith so that they may understand and so that they can help people where they are that where excuse me where they are at. But yeah, no, it's really beautiful, and I think a lot of maybe not all Christians, obviously, but a lot of Christians uh, don't focus on gaining knowledge, whether it's in their faith or if it's uh, just generally. And I think both of those things are very important because if someone tries to act smarter than you, but you have literally the life of the world on your side and you're unable to sort of discuss that with them, maybe something we all need to work on. Of course, trusting in the Lord, we can bring His word to them. But I I guess it's just something important, I think, is to learn in every way we can. And of course, not be too, I guess, ego heavy when it comes to what we do know. Of course, if I need to be corrected in something, I need to accept that and I need to let that overcome where I am so that I can grow closer to God. And if I have said something that causes someone to stumble, maybe someone who is thinking about joining the faith, maybe someone who is in the faith that is potentially leaning away because of what I told them, well, that's something I need to know, and that's something I need to be corrected in, and that's something I need to be guided so that I can not only guide myself, but do what I can to help my brother and sister get back to our faith and focus on growing and our growth as individuals and our growth as our help other. I can't speak. Our help for other people to grow. English is fun. That's one thing I need to learn better, I suppose.
Your own native tongue.
Oh, absolutely. I also know Bamble
Well,
and Mumble.
same.
I'm sorry, I'm also brewing tea. So
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were brooding. Oh my.
no, I'm
Oh
brewing
my
tea.
God.
I'm brewing tea.
I'm so
Sorry, I'm
sorry.
plotting the
my-
downfall of my enemies right now.
Right. I'm brooding in my corner.
Tea will get rid of its due.
The dark corner.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Understood.
But no, I don't have anything to add.
That's fair.
Hmm
All right.
Okay. Are we good to start the
See.
next chapters? Anybody got anything else to say?
Mm.
Hmm.
Nada?
Many
I
hmms.
think
All
he
I have to say is
could.
that Stradus, you're quite insightful. Ugh.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
this man is great. I love when he's in my server in whether it's in the Christian debate part or in the just the general, he gives a lot of good insight.
Right.
The occasional
Have you
pop
studied
in.
the Greek Bible? Or the Greek translation?
Not really. I blue letter sometimes to kind of look at the original words for some
I
context of
see.
verses.
What is it? It's called the
But
interlinear, right?
interlinear, I
The-
guess, is what you call it.
right.
Yeah, yeah. That didn't really like click until it's a long time ago now. But like basically, sorry, quick little
Mm.
tangent. Like, I was being taught. They're talking about like the word, right? And like we just
Yeah.
get in English, we get word a bunch. But in Hebrew Greek, it means a lot of different things, like logos versus rhema, like a statement, a
Mm.
decree versus a call to action, or like a prophesy kind of thing. And I was like, oh snap! Like that, like just like flipped the lid. I was like, wait, like there's so
Mhm.
much more to this. It's not that English is wrong. It's just that we're limited in our understanding if we
Right.
confine it
English
to
is
English.
very basic
Yeah.
in terms of its
That's why I
definitions.
think it's
Right.
important people either if you can't get like an interlinear Bible, like a physical copy, use Blue Letter Bible. It's really good to see like the Greek and the Hebrew and
Hmm
the translations and stuff to certain words and how they break it down. It's really cool.
Proverbs chapter 4. Hear, O sons, a father's instruction, and be attentive, that you may gain insight. For I give you good precepts. Do not forsake my teaching. When I was a son with my father, tender, the only one in the sight of my mother, he taught me and said to me, let your heart hold fast my words, keep my commandments, and live. Get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget, and do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, and whatever you get insight. Prize her highly, and she will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. She will place on your head a graceful garland, and she will bestow on you a beautiful crown. Hear, my son, and accept my words, that the years of your life may be many. I have taught you the way of wisdom. I have led you in the paths of uprightness. When you walk, your step will not be hampered, and if you run, you will not stumble. Keep hold of instruction, do not let go. Guard her, for she is your life. Do not enter the path of the wicked, and do not walk in the way of the evil. Avoid it, do not go on it. Turn away from it and pass on. For they cannot sleep unless they have done wrong. They are robbed of sleep unless they have made someone stumble. For they eat the bread of the wickedness and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the righteous is like the light of dawn, which shines brighter and brighter until full day. The way of the wicked is like deep darkness. They do not know over what they stumble. My son, be attentive to my words, incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not escape from your sight, keep them within your heart. For they are life to those who find them, and healing to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Put away from you crooked speech, and put devious talk far from you. Let your eyes look directly forward, and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. Proverbs chapter 5. My son, be attentive to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my understanding, that you may keep discretion and your lips may guard knowledge. For the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps follow the path to Sheol. She does not ponder the path of life, her ways wander, and she does not know it. And now, O sons, listen to me. Do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your honor to others and your years to the merciless, lest strangers take their fill of your strength and your labors go to the house of a foreigner. And at the end of your life, you groan when your flesh and body are consumed. And you say, how I hated discipline, and my heart despised reproof. I did not listen to the voice of my teachers or incline my ear to my instructors. I am at the brink of utter ruin in the assembled congregation. Drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets, let them be for yourself alone, and not for strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of your youth, a lovely deer, a graceful doe. Let her breast fill you at all times with delight. Be intoxicated always in her love. Why should you be intoxicated, my son, with a forbidden woman, and embrace the bosom of an adulteress? For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast to the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly, he is led astray. Proverbs chapter 6. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor, have given your pledge for a stranger, if you are snared in the words of your mouth, caught in the words of your mouth, then do this, my son, and save yourself. For you have come into the hand of your neighbor. Go, hasten, and plead urgently with your neighbor. Give your eyes no sleep and your eyelids no slumber. Save yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. without having any chief, officer, or ruler. She prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. And poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. A worthless person, a wicked man, goes about with crooked speech. Winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, points with his finger, with perverted heart devises evil, continually sowing discord. Therefore calamity will come upon him suddenly. In a moment he will be broken beyond healing. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him. Haughty, am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. A heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil. A false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among brothers. My son, keep your father's commandment, and forsake not your mother's teaching. Bind them on your heart always, tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will lead you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. And when you wake, they will talk with you. For the commandment is a lamp, and the teaching a light. When the reproofs of discipline are the way of life, to preserve you from the evil woman, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress. Do not desire her beauty in your heart, and do not let her capture you with her eyelashes. For the price of a prostitute is only a loaf of bread, but a married woman hunts down a precious life. Can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? Or can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is he who goes in his neighbor's wife, none who touches her will go unpunished. People do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his appetite when he is hungry, but if he is caught, he will pay 7-fold. He will give all the goods of his house. He who commits adultery lacks sense. He who does it destroys himself. He will get wounds and dishonor, and his disgrace will not be wiped away. For jealousy makes a man furious, and he will not spare when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation. He will refuse though you multiply gifts. Struggled a lot reading that for some reason.
You did great.
Great job, Bill. Good morning, Sil. Yes. So with me, I think what really gets to me is discipline, and I think it was focused on in 5, but I was listening while I was getting water. It started in verse 12. Let's see.
Which chapter?
Oh, 5. I'm sorry. Proverbs
good.
5, verse
You're good.
12. How I hated discipline, and my heart despised reproof. I did not listen to the voice of my teachers, or incline my ear to my instructors. I am at the brink of utter ruin in the assembled congregation. And this sort of concept can be applied to, of course, just a general class that we take in school. Like Stradus, you would probably understand the sort of sorrow that a student might feel if they are failing at the end of the semester. But at the same time, we are kind of undergoing, we are undergoing a test of sorts, a test of faith. And we have to learn and understand and discipline ourselves to move forward with our faith in all that we do. And in a sense, when it comes to the end of our lives, when judgment comes for us, have we failed that test as well? So in our lives, we must stand firm and learn and incorporate our instruction and the teaching we've gained from the word into our lives and really understanding it. And I found that some things for example, have said, oh, yes, I will not do that. But when it comes down to a situation, sometimes I find myself faltering where I'm like, oh, if I do this now, blank. And I give myself sort of an excuse. Well, overcoming that sort of excuse is what discipline is. At least that's a part of it. And really learning how to incorporate discipline into each thing that we do every day is something we all need to work on. And for example, I know a lot of people struggle with lust. And one of the things Jesus said was, do not look upon a woman lustfully. And in today's society, I would say, I don't know if any of the other guys have had to deal with this, but becoming, in a lot of circles, becoming a man involves focusing on how interested you are in woman. And that
Mhm.
is a huge pitfall for a ton of men. And I think that that is something all of us probably need to work on and overcome in some way. Because when we look at other people, we begin to objectify them. We begin to look at them like not human, but objects of lust. And it is such a sad situation that we found ourselves in because there are so many people that are pushing for this agenda that we should be looking upon other people as these sort of sexual objects of gratification. And I think that all of us, in ways, need to find accountability partners, need to find different things that bring us closer and overcome these different excuses that allow us to fall back into this sort of sin because it is very prevalent in our lives. And like any habit, it can come back at any time if we're not diligent about it.
Yep.
The other thing is, if we're not vigilant about it, if we're not keeping our eyes out for it, it will sneak in like any addiction. And that's something I think all of us struggle with to some extent. And of course, trying to determine how to discipline ourselves when it comes to understanding the execution of following our faith, well, when we fall into those excuses, are we just telling ourselves no to those excuses, or do we find other things to look towards? And if we don't look for anything else to take us away from those excuses, are we just saying no over and over again until we finally give in? Or are we looking back to the Word? Are we looking back to the Lord? Are we looking back to the love we have for other people? Because love transcends that sort of lust and desire for other people. We should not be gazing upon people because they are far more than their bodies. And it really is something I think we all need to work on because, like we said, for a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly, he is led astray. So, actually, verses 21 through 23 are talking about this. God sees that we have all these paths, and we ponder them. We have so many different directions we can take our lives, but the wicked are ensnared by their iniquities. So when we are focusing on our sins, we are taken by them.
Mhm.
So not only are we drawn to it, but we need to find ways to draw ourselves in other directions. So if you ever find yourselves drawn to a various sin, especially lust, not only try to avoid this sort of excuse to go into it, but try to find other routes around and away from that sin. We are told to flee from sin from lust, especially. What other things can we do to pull us away from that darkness? And of course, we have the Word. And in this very chapter, chapter 5 of Proverbs, it can help us find our way back. And of course, we might all struggle. And that's why we're here for one another. That was my, that's what stood out to me today.
I
Um,
just kind of piggybacking off of also what Gabe was saying in regards to just lust being a very, I feel like it's one of those sins that everyone maybe struggles with the most. I know I do, but it it's interesting how in today's world, and oddly enough with high school, like older high school age, you get kind of like frowned upon by your friends when you don't have like when you haven't had done anything with anyone, or your body count is like one person, and they make a body count thing like a game, like bragging. And sex was created by God, but to only be done within marriage between a man and a woman. And it is a sacred thing that people now do and have taken it to just be I guess, for lack of a better word, social thing. Like it's just like we're a bunch of animals. And um it's unfortunate, but um God does provide a way out of those situations and those thoughts. And I think it's just, I have a lot of opinions. I don't know how to word English right now, but lust icky, lust create a lot of problem. I know I've had experiences in my current relationship that things like pornography have created problems, and it's just wild to me how normalized the world makes it. You know, sex is just supposed to be like a marriage thing, and it's sacred and it's beautiful in your marriage, but people take it
Um,
for granted.
as someone who was exposed to that, like, young teens by
Mhm.
another female, that definitely, along with some stuff that happened in my childhood, sent me down a bit of a spiral, and that's definitely the sin that I unfortunately struggle with the most. I won't go too deep into it, but it feels like every day chains that I like wrap myself up in,
Mhm.
and I mean, I feel guilty about it. It feels terrible. That's all I can really say. I don't want to go too deep into it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Kind of piggybacking on that, I was very much. I feel like Bell was like right on the dot. A lot of similar stuff I was going to mention there. It's kind of like a slow heating of the water, right? If the water's already boiling, the frog's going to jump out when it goes in, right? But if the frog's in it when it's warm water, and you slowly churn it up, the frog's not going to notice that the water's not safe anymore.
Mhm.
And society very much did that. Culture has very much done that. If you look from like previous decades and stuff, um, it was just oh, you can take one step further. Oh, it's okay. Oh, it's not going to kill you. The Bible says sex hurts your body. You're not dying from it. Like basically, the world is the serpent to like as the serpent was to Eve. The world is to us every day now. Um, oh, it's liberating. It's freeing to you because we came from before was like, oh, sleeping with people is okay, and like we just saw that line go further and further and further. And we see that express itself in a lot of different cultural facets, which I'm not going to get into because that would be its own rabbit holes. But um, the thing about this is because it gives that counterfeit of something good is what makes this so difficult. Like being violent towards someone, like sure, like some people enjoy it because of patterns and stuff, but most people usually don't feel good after it, right? Or it's a fear tactic or defensive tactic, right? But like sexual sin gives off the counterfeit of the goodness and beauty that sex is supposed to be. And it not only does it give you the counterfeit, but then it taints your view of it. But Gabriel said really early on, well, I can't personally relate to it of like the men culture thing. I do know I have friends who've told me like, hey, yeah, my 18th birthday, my dad took me to strip club. It was my rite of passage to be. Now that you're a man, that's how you become a man. And there's such a cultural leaning towards it that is, oh, now you're just a prude if you think it's wrong. Now, oh, you still have your V card. You must be a loser, kind of thing, right? And now, literal body count is now a stat people compare, which is wild. But one thing that like no one ever wants to focus on, I remember this was back in like 2014. I was playing Destiny had first come out. Was playing the game like just with randoms and stuff, just like doing teams. And this one guy who like, you know, that person that like feels like they have to come off like hard and tough and like trying to prove themselves.
Yeah.
Well, he basically was like bragging about how many people he slept with. He's like, yeah, sex is boring to me now. I find no fun or enjoyment in it.
Maybe
And like
it'd be boring
from
if
an
you didn't have so much. Sorry.
from no, exactly, from an environment like that, like I feel like that's such a powerful moment in a sense that like that's the end game with this stuff. You will literally it destroys you if you abuse it out of context. It is meant for something that you've committed your entire life to this person, and then it's something beautiful. It's something you grow closer to them with in true intimacy. It's something you grow closer to God with in the beauty of His creation. But if we use it out of context, like just like using a sword carelessly, like it is damaging. It is destroying. Yet the world is all in on it right now. It is the most, if one of, if not the most profitable commodities right now. Um, Easy OnlyFans. You know, you want to get rich quick, just make an OnlyFans, right?
Yep.
People are making insane money off of that, so they view it as something good when it's leaving a wake of destruction in and of itself. Sex, pornography itself, research shows that it is physiologically destroying to you. It is spiritually destroying to you. It actually decreases your sexual performance and destroys the gray matter in your brain. But then we see the tabloid articles like recent study shows pornography is healthy for your marriage and crap like that because people will publish what they want and what they want to make money with. But if you actually do the research that will never get the mainstream published and will never be put in the main light, this is a very dangerous and harmful drug. But because we don't see the initial immediate benefits of it or immediate destruction of it, we trick ourselves into thinking it's okay. Surely I didn't die when I looked at porn, so God must have been wrong and I know better.
Who used to do the OnlyFans stuff as a VTuber, and coming out of that, thankfully, I do still, like, in a sense, feel guilty and bad because what I did contributed to leading, like, other brothers and maybe sisters, who knows, but just other people, like, astray and down into that rabbit hole further if they were already struggling with it. And it's as someone who's done it and then been on the end of having a partner that engaged with it, it's so damaging to a relationship. There's just no place for that kind of thing in anyone's life. it, there's no proven fact that it does good to anybody. Because you even hear like all these stories of like like porn stars and stuff that have like killed themselves even or like have severe issues coming out of that industry. Like it's just awful overall. There's no good to come out of it.
Thank you for sharing, Belle. And I'm just so happy that you are with us and following Christ and using yourself to bring people closer to Him. And it's so nice to have you here.
I was gonna kind of echo what Gabriel and what Faith Walker typed. Like we can look at it and be like, that sucks. I was a part of that. I contributed to that. I was part of the problem. But we can also look at what God's done.
Yeah.
That there is a way out. God is that way out. You can feel like you're stuck in the bottomless pit, but God can and God will if you let him. And in the cycle of addiction, in the throes of putting the chains back on ourselves, what comes with that? The voice of condemnation. Oh, you're an idiot. You were doing so well and you're screwed up again so easily. Like, how stupid are you? And though that's not conviction, that's condemnation. It's the conviction wants you to not do it anymore, but the condemnation tries to hijack that, and that's what leads to our self-destruction in the process. And that, I would argue, is part of the cycle in itself too, because now you're self-loathing and you're so miserable because of this cycle. Then, oh, what's going to help you, air quotes, feel better? Going back to it, right? The passage even talked about it a little bit, but basically kind of Paul goes into a little more of it. True freedom involves discipline. Freedom isn't, the world views freedom as a freedom to sleep with whoever I want, freedom to get rich and liberate myself by selling my body, online prostituting myself. But biblical freedom is freedom from the hardships and the destruction of having partners like flavors of the month, freedom from this habitual sin, these chains that we can easily put ourselves on, not freedom to indulge. And we can easily just close that door to ourselves, be our own worst enemy there, because we don't forgive ourselves in those moments. We can forgive others. God's forgiven me when I didn't deserve it. I'll love others, but have I forgiven myself of these habits? Every time I put these chains back on myself, have I forgiven myself? And I think that's part of what really gets us stuck in this cycle.
Stradus, I am so glad you're here today. Thank you for being here, brother.
Appreciate it.
I thought you said I cheated. I was like, what? What do you mean? But you said appreciate it, and I appreciate the appreciation. Absolutely.
I appreciate you appreciating me appreciation.
Amazing.
Celeste,
All
Marshall,
right.
y'all want to say anything?
Oh,
I
did you
don't
ask?
have
Oh,
anything to add right now for this one.
yeah. Other than lust and poor and bad, I'm much the same.
Mm-hmm.
I am much the same. But if that's all we have in the way of input and insight, we can continue. And I could begin to read. Oh, actually, Gabriel, was it you that said? Was it you or Stradus that said? No, Stradus. You were talking about the porn industry and how the social progression of, or the society's pacification of
Yeah.
what was it, of promiscuous sex and premarital sex. I think that I mean I absolutely share that I mean, if you're a Christian, how could you not? But the sexual revolution, I think, was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, proponent that pushed that letter forward.
Absolutely.
Incredibly. I used to think it was well, it wasn't an authentic belief. I never thought it was like anything to write home about in the way of morality. I was just told, like everyone else, like, hey, this is moral because because traditional constraints are no longer oppressing us. Yay, we're free to do what we want because no one's shaming us anymore. Like, how dare you shame me for doing what I want with my body? But the result of the sexual revolution has ultimately resulted in the degradation of so many other aspects of society, because it's ushered in a new status quo when it comes to making right wrong and wrong right, under the guise of being virtuous or moral or free, actually free, which is an incredible slight on real morality. It's abominable. And I've been talking out against it for a while, even before I was converted, or sorry, even before I was rekindled in my relationship with Christ. I was speaking out about the indignity that living a promiscuous and, how would you say, very laissez-faire, promiscuous life. One that is, very frivolous and, quote unquote, what people would call adventurous, how dangerous it is, how it's damaged dignity and self-respect and value, like human value. There will never be a replacement for the standards of God are timeless. The standards and virtues of God are timeless. You cannot relegate them to an expiration date. And many people believe that old equals wrong, because it's older, or an older belief, or what they would call traditional, that it's antiquated, that it's no longer relevant, it doesn't serve a purpose. And these are the very people that we need to we need to be wary of. The people that would substitute God's principles and the standards that the standards of morality that are objective. Because morality is objective. It is not relative. Be wary of those people that preach feel-good messages or preach very self-righteously with, the virtue signal to try and galvanize convictions about how people might feel one way or another about a particular vice or a guilty pleasure that they may be indulging in. And many people, they don't want to feel the shame of this immorality that I feel like it's intrinsic and intuitive in all of us, that regardless of how you might frame it and how you might paint whatever it is that you're doing, if it is immoral, I feel that at the core of your being, you know it's immoral. It doesn't matter how hard you try to convince yourself that what you're doing is innocuous, ultimately harmless. You know at the core that it is wrong, that it's a delusion, that it's steering you, it's doing nothing constructive for your life or for the lives of those who are around you. And so we have many people that delude themselves on the notion that freedom equals good, that the ability to use your freedom for whatever it is that you like under the sun is real virtue. These are the evils that we need to fight against. We've been given free will, yes, but it's a gift. It's a privilege that God has so mercifully imbued within us. And I mean, ultimately, who are we, regardless of that free will, who are we to dictate what is truly objectively right and what is objectively wrong? And again, this plays into the whole, doing whatever I want because I can argument or philosophy, the live, let live philosophy. That if I'm not hurting someone,
right,
which almost always means almost always means physically with these people. If I'm not physically hurting anybody, or maybe even someone's feelings, if I'm not hurting anyone's feelings, then it must be all right. It must be fine.
Grand apathy.
Right. It is very evil, very wrong, very deceptive. And many of us in the modern age fall prey to it every day, especially the impressionable youth.
So good.
And it's become the norm. It's very sad, very tragic.
If I can piggyback off that,
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
The great apathy, I call it that. Oh, if it's not hurting anybody, the biggest virtue signal of culture today, right? If it's not hurting anybody, why do you care? Why is it bother you so much? Why are you being such a insert thing here, right? And so much of online toxicity, online hatred you'll get and stuff like that, right? That's not caring about people. It's apathy. It's let's find an echo chamber where we don't have to wrestle with accountability, because that's the voice I'm trying to numb so hard and silence, that voice of conviction in my heart, that voice that tells me this is wrong as much as I want this to be right and want to feel good about it. So yeah, the great apathy is what I was calling it. Like I was literally telling like Celestium that before we started, like, yeah, because what's going to happen is if you bring the truth will speak for itself. God can do it just fine. But you'll bring the truth naturally brings a crossroads. Either you look in the mirror and you check this thing called accountability and you run to God, or you run to the hills and you run from God and you continue to try and just speak a louder lie to hide that truth, and so you don't hear that truth anymore.
in the way that they
And
do that.
yeah.
I'm sorry, were you finished?
No, you're good. Go on. Go for it.
I was simply going to say that they take that conscientiousness and they make it synonymous with tyranny, with oppression.
Yes.
They say that if you hold me to any particular standard, regardless of whether or not it's for the better or for the betterment of the whole, of the collective, or even myself, because again, what is objectively right is not determined or changed according to your subjective opinion. What is right, and what is wrong. Morality is objective. So even if it's for their benefit, in the long term, they've so thoroughly entrenched themselves and surrendered themselves over to the flesh that they can't possibly see it any other way. That's how deeply they've deluded themselves with this philosophy of live, let live, of laissez-faire. All is fair in what I want to do, so long as it doesn't hurt anybody. Or in the words of Mr. Stradus here, the great apathy. And again, they call it correct. Yeah, they call it tyrannical. If you try to lovingly and compassionately correct them, say, hey, stop going in that direction, you're headed toward a cliff, they get more offended at the fact that you tried to help them, because they are entitled. They believe themselves so entitled to their, what they would call their truth, or to their own means and methods, ways of doing things, right, that they couldn't possibly be wrong. Who are you to correct me? You're just as flawed as I am. How could you possibly see anything more? How can you see the picture clearer or more than I could? Do you think less of me? Are you trying to control me? And then, of course, by the end of their spiel, they're already, halfway off the cliff. So these are very unreasonable people. These are very, very they live by rationalization, not rationale. The two are not the same. Or at least not always. But they rationalize. They don't operate on rationale. They don't operate on reason. They operate on relative carnal urge and instinct, or what they would call their intuition, what they would call their feelings, really. They operate based on feeling. But these people still can be saved, of course. None of this is to say that they are far gone or out of reach. These are human beings like us, and again, we have to remember that we walked that same path 5 metaphorical minutes ago. So we should be able to relate to them in that respect, at least. Some of us may be more than others and less than others too, but all the same, do pray for these people, that they receive true clarity and wake up to what real morality is, not their own definition.
To kind of start landing this tangential plane that has been beautiful. The thing is that, with that, because there's such a pull to it, because it's belonging. Belonging is that drug, the real drug that hooks them in.
Oh yeah, social acceptance.
We all
Absolutely.
are accountable to each other.
Absolutely.
Trying to belong is so tough in today's age. COVID, all that, holy crap. I look at myself in school, and then I look at my students I teach, and I'm just like, wait, your high school was COVID. That's insane. Wait, you graduate, you didn't get to graduate high school in an IRL fashion. And it's the social skill, everything that's changing, right? But what we could go on forever about this in such a good way. But the thing is, it's belonging at the end of the day. People want to belong, but what they don't get told is there is a God that loves you where you're at, but he has better in store for you. He has a journey beyond your wildest expectations, beyond anything you could think that you want. That is a drop in the bucket compared to what God has in store for you.
Absolutely.
Amen.
And there is something I'd like to tie into this. J9RI, I always call him Jory in my head. He mentioned, what do some people mean by the sin of empathy? And what I'd like to say is that the sin of empathy is more focused. It's kind of similar to this whole wanting to belong thing, where if someone's sinning, we feel bad for them, and not only do we let them indulge, but we indulge ourselves because we feel bad for them. So, for example, if there is some sort of confrontation going on and you feel bad for someone and you want to help them, but doing that leads you to sin, well, that is essentially the sin of empathy. Now, empathy itself is sort of a gateway to the sin, but it's not really the sin itself, if that makes sense. But because of that empathy, we've weakened our resolve in faith and led ourselves astray by giving into those feelings of uh, melancholy, those sorrowful feelings that make us want to help those people. But we should be wanting to help those people grow closer to God, helping those people save their souls. Meanwhile, we are not only potentially redirecting them towards evil, but ourselves as well. So that's what you would want to keep your eye out for. And when it comes to this belongingness, people want to belong somewhere. But do we, as Christians, want to belong to sin or death? Sin and death? Or do we want to find ourselves back in the arms of God? And I think for a long part of my life, I didn't have any friends. So my life was dedicated to pleasing other people. And that's something that has developed into a sort of habit that has overtaken me. So I need to work on that. That's something I need to be disciplined in, where I shouldn't go after the sin of empathy. I should try and focus on getting closer to God rather than feeling bad for someone and leaning in that direction. So that is something that I struggle with, actually. And I do appreciate you bringing it up. J9, actually, did you say how to say your name right?
Joey. It's usually
That's
yeah.
Joey?
That's
Oh,
Joey,
no.
yeah.
Oh, no!
Yeah. So wait, so kind of just following up on that. So do you like sin of empathy? I've never heard that phrasing before. So do you think
Neither
empathy
have
is
I.
a sin then?
Me or Joey? Because Joey mentioned...
Well, I guess your response to it, because he asked about it, right? Like, do you think empathy is a sin?
No, it's not a sin, because we can be empathetic for people, but when it comes to...
Passion, right?
Yes, when we be empathetic in a way that leads us to sin, that's what we're talking about. Because the concept of the sin of empathy is a sort of it essentially argues that empathy usually leads to moral compromise, or blurring the lines between right and wrong can lead to sin. So that is really what it means, but it's not
Like slippery
exactly...
slope.
Yes, exactly, the
Okay.
slippery slope. It's like it's using a fallacy in an argument.
Okay, now I got you. Because yeah, I'd say like empathy versus enabling is really what it comes down to. And then usually enabling comes from an emotional drive of, relating to that problem and not having a healthy solution to it. So you enable it instead of being that uncomfortable truth in the road to be like, hey, like you can still choose that, it's your choice, but you're headed straight off that cliff if you keep going this way, like Marshall said.
Oh my gosh, Stradus, I'm happy you're here. You bring me joy.
Spirit's just doing his thing, that's all.
Yeah, man.
I believe now we can move on to chapter 7, right?
Yes.
Chapter
Yeah.
7. All right. Chapter 7. My son, keep my words and store up your commands, or my commands within you. Keep my commands and you will live. Guard my teachings as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call understanding your kinsman. They will keep you from the adulteress, from the wayward wife with her seductive words. At the window of my house, I looked out through the lattice. I saw among the simple, I noticed among the young men, a youth who lacked judgment. He was going down the street, near her corner, walking along in the direction of her house, at twilight, as the day was fading, as the dark of night set in. Then out came a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute, with crafty intent. She is loud and defiant. Her feet never stay at home, now in the street, now in the squares. At every corner she lurks. She took hold of him and kissed him, and with a brazen face she said, I have fellowship offerings at my home. Today I fulfilled my vows, so I came out to meet you. I looked for you and have found you. I have covered my bed with colored linens from Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us drink deep of love till morning. Let's enjoy ourselves with love. My husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He took his purse filled with money and will not be home till full moon. With persuasive words, she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. All at once, he followed her like an ox going to the slaughter, like a deer stepping into a noose, till an arrow pierces his liver, like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it would cost him his life. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways, or stray into her paths. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death. Proverbs 8. Does not wisdom call out? Does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights along the way, where the paths meet, she takes her stand. Beside the gates leading into the city, at the entrances she calls aloud. To you, O men, I call out. I raise my voice to all mankind. You who are simple, gain prudence. You who are foolish, gain understanding. Listen, for I have worthy things to say. I open my lips to speak what is right. My mouth speaks what is true, for my lips detest wickedness. All the words of my mouth are just, none of them is crooked or perverse. To the discerning, all of them are right. They are faultless to those who have knowledge. Choose my instruction instead of silver, knowledge rather than choice gold, for wisdom is more precious than rubies, and nothing you desire can compare with her. I, wisdom, dwell together with prudence. I possess knowledge and discretion. To fear the Lord is to hate evil. I hate pride and arrogance, evil behavior and perverse speech. Counsel and sound judgment are mine. I have understanding and power. My kings reign. By me kings reign, and rulers make laws that are just. By me princes govern, and all nobles who rule on earth. And all nobles who rule on earth. I love those who love me, and those who seek me find me. With me are riches and honor, enduring wealth and prosperity. My fruit is better than fine gold, and what I yield surpasses choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness, along the paths of justice, bestowing wealth on those who love me, and make their treasuries full. The Lord brought me forth as the first of his works, before his deeds of old. I was appointed from eternity, from the beginning, before the world began. Where there were no oceans, I was given birth. When there were no springs abounding with water, before the mountains were settled in place, before the hills, I was given birth. Before he made the earth, or its fields, or any of the dust of the world. I was there when he set the heavens in place, when he marked out the horizon on the face of the deep, when he established the clouds above, and fixed securely the fountains of the deep, when he gave the sea its boundary, so the waters would not overstep his command, and when he marked out the foundations of the earth. Then I was the craftsman at his side. I was filled with the delight day after day, rejoicing always in his presence, rejoicing in his whole world, and delighting in mankind. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Listen to my instruction, and be wise. Do not ignore it. Blessed is the man who listens to me, watching daily at my doors, waiting at my doorway. For whoever finds me finds life, and receives favor from the Lord. But whoever fails to find me harms himself. All who hate me love death. Chapter 9. Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out its seven pillars. She has prepared her meat and mixed her wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her maids, and she calls from the highest point of the city. Let all who are simple come in here, she says, to those who lack judgment. Come and eat my food, and drink the wine I have mixed. Leave your simple ways, and you will live. Walk in the way of understanding. Whoever corrects a mocker invites insult. Whoever rebukes a wicked man incurs abuse. Do not rebuke a mocker, or he will hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. Instruct a wise man, and he will be wiser still. Teach a righteous man, and he will add to his learning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For through me your days will be many, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom will be rewarded, or your wisdom will reward you. If you are a mocker, you alone will suffer. The woman folly is loud. She is undisciplined and without knowledge. She sits at the door of her house, on a seat at the highest point of the city, calling out to those who pass by, who go straight on their way. Let all who are simple come in here, she says to those who lack judgment. Stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious. But little do they know that the dead are there, that her guests are in the depths of the grave. I will say
Thank you,
that,
Marshall.
of course, yeah, sorry about that. Sorry if there was a bit of roughness to that reading. But,
That was great.
oh, thank you. I would say that though it was done out of sort of arrogance and egotism, my pursuit um, for my pursuit for wisdom, uh, I would say that it cultivated a very advantageous position for me, where whenever I finally came back to Christ, it was easy for me to accept God, for who and what He is, kind of on the spot, as objectively as I could, and all this talk, of course, wisdom, Lady Wisdom, or wisdom is being characterized by, the pronoun she. Uh, where we have, the adulteress or the Jezebel, right? I'm not sure what. I guess she is just called wisdom. The inverse of Jezebel, or the temptress that leads you away. Um, like it says here in chapter 9, 13, the woman folly is loud. I can see that. I'm not sure if this is by intent, but I don't know why. It seems to be that all of these characters, or all of these traits or concepts, are characterized in sort of feminine ways, and that sort of ties in a little bit with I'm making the connection to the previous passages and chapters about lust. How the woman, the adulteress, her tongue is very sweet, or her lips, they drip honey. And here we have the woman folly, who's crying out from her ceiling or from her roof to all of the people that lack judgment, to all the people that crave immediate gratification. It seems to me like not only was this written to, I mean, this could be applied to anyone, but I'm getting the sense that it was written for men. Like, this was written for men to read.
Yeah, I believe it.
And and again, though it is applicable to everybody, I would say that. Well, I mean, it makes sense because I mean, Solomon's a dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what he fell prey to was a lot of adultery, uh, and the choice wine of sorts. So to me, as a guy, this certainly speaks to me as someone who did struggle with lust, as someone who who did want earnestly to seek out wisdom beyond what everyone else was seemingly indulging in or chasing, which was foolishness, promiscuity, a lack of discipline, a lack of intellect. Hard times create strong men, and easy times or hard men create Oh, how does it go? Help me out. One of you help me out.
I know what
Maybe
you're
it's,
trying to say because my
yeah,
boyfriend says
yeah.
it a lot.
Hard times make strong people make easy times make weak people make hard times. That one?
Well, replace the people with men, and yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
would be
Hard
right.
times create strong men. Is that,
Yeah, strong men make easy times
Right.
make weak men. Yeah.
Right. What I'm trying to get at is, but it seems that at the core of society, which all of it, most all of it, is built physically built by men. The infrastructure, and of course, it's governed by men. And when we have these, throughout history, we have through a lack of wisdom, societies that uproot or not uproot, but they uplift certain men to positions of despotism. They're despotic. They're diktats. And one thing that you find in those societies, it's lacking crucial wisdom. They've been tempted by foolishness, by loud words that galvanize their feelings, that gratify their prejudices, that justify and validate, vindicate even their vices, their evils, their prejudices, and their feelings. And I just see, I for one, have always wanted to be a man who's learned, to be a man who's wise and learned. Of course, again, it came from a place of arrogance. But I saw that you have a lot of people that talk real loud. They speak very loudly, and they say a lot of words that ultimately don't really mean much. But those apparently seem to be the most attractive to many people, to the ears of many people, because they sound good.
Mhm.
And similarly with sin, it sounds really nice. It might, like lust again. The adulteress, her lips, they drip honey, and her words are smoother than oil. Everything sounds real good. All of the what the world offers sounds really nice, but ultimately there's an acute lack of wisdom in all of it. It is deprived, utterly void of wisdom and God. And that's why we see so many people justify and rationalize these evils, is because they sound nice. And the world has been convinced that they are good things, that these are things to pursue, these are things to want. That certain societies, of course, or certain evils can be justified, given the right conditions and the right circumstances. And it's no different from, and I'm going to use, the most extreme recent example. It's no different from Nazi Germany. That's kind of what I'm seeing, is that it sounded really nice to the German people at the time. That everything that, like, all of their conspiracies, all of their hurt from the loss of the Great War, and of course the embarrassment that was the Treaty of Versailles, he gratified. He gratified their feelings and galvanized them. He played into he was a populist. He played into everyone's feelings, but all of it lacked real wisdom. All of it, and he convinced an entire society to commit the extermination of a certain people, of over 6 million Jews, and that's not including the people that died as a result of the conventional war that was fought on the ground. That's just the weight of the danger that a lack of wisdom poses. When you bring in a sort of counterfeit to wisdom that produces more instant gratification to the flesh and to your carnal instincts inside the side of you, that is beholden to sin and the world and flesh. So love wisdom. Please, love
See.
wisdom. Please. A lack of wisdom is terribly dangerous. Terribly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marshall.
Yeah, sorry if that was a bit of a rant.
No, I'm glad
No,
you
you're
started
good.
talking.
Yeah.
I love how you opened, because I think what we read today kind of appeals to that a little bit. Like, you sought knowledge. Knowledge was important to you already. So when you were brought to reconciliation with God, like, it was much more natural, much more understanding. A smoother process, dare we say. Forgive my phrasing if that's inaccurate. Because going back to 1:7, it doesn't mean you're incapable of wisdom if you don't prioritize God. It means like prioritizing God will bring your wisdom into check and allow you to actually tap into that wisdom in a healthy way that will benefit those around you. Because like someone could be like, say someone's like 6'4" and like naturally just adept at basketball, but say like their shot technique is really bad, their fundamentals are really bad, right? But they just are ahead of their league, like still crushing everyone because their physiology, right? Um, it doesn't mean they're not good at the game, but bringing them that fundamentals back in play, teaching them how to properly shoot the ball, they're going to go leaps and bounds compared to where they were before. I feel like wisdom we can apply in a very similar light. If we go back to the fundamentals and place our foundation in Christ, our wisdom's going to skyrocket, and being able to rely on the Spirit and letting the Spirit speak through us is going to just. I want to say it's the moon, but Moon Knight goes in my head. Sorry. Thank you, Marvel Rifles.
Demo.
But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's good. A real short blurb for me, which might sound contradictory based on how much I've been ranting today. I'm just kidding. Proverbs, the end of Proverbs 8? Yeah. I love this because it reminded me of the Beatitudes. Like, blessed are those who keep my ways. Blessed is the one who listens to me. And like the Beatitudes, like Jesus is saying, like, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the poor in spirit, right? Does it mean you get a mystical blessing and you level up spiritually? No. It's, happiness will naturally be there. People who are peacekeepers will naturally have peace in their lives. People like, you'll find content there. And so much of this can just come from our attitude, simply calibrating our attitude. A great attitude, as corny as this sounds, is gratitude. You can have everything in the world and still be in discontent because of your attitude. But if you have an attitude that seeks peace, an attitude that seeks wisdom, an attitude that listens to instruction and appreciates it, your circumstances, it will feel like magic how different your circumstances can be. Like, oh, I have to talk to my boss who's always such a pain, and they're just going to harp on my case again. Or like, hey, here's another opportunity to talk to my boss, an opportunity to show peace and patience and continue to work and lean into God's wisdom. And then is it any surprise that that talk goes completely different than how you expected it to? Or maybe it goes exactly the same way you expected it to, but your result from it is different. You're not feeling like crap after that conversation. You're like, wow, I saw the difference on how I handled that. Yeah, my boss is still a punk, but wow, thank you, God. I got to actually not let this rob me of my joy for the day. I like that part of the passage.
Wisdom is an aspect of goodness. It is part of goodness. I mean, as we read here, wisdom was there before even the world began. And so when you have a lack of wisdom, though I wouldn't say the inverse is purely evil, I would say that foolishness opens up a wealth of opportunity for evil to seep in and to root and cement itself in your heart. That's what, again, a lack of wisdom has. I mean, it's so utterly dangerous. The minds of people are so fickle. They're so fickle and easily manipulated. And when you have a lack of wisdom, when you have a deficit of wisdom, there's so much opportunity to manipulate the already fickle minds of people. And we see that throughout time. Satan kills through lies. How do you combat falsehood with truth and wisdom? And a lack of wisdom has these are the strongholds that are deepest rooted, that are most fortified, are in the places with the least amount of wisdom in the world. Of course, we don't wage war against flesh and blood. It's against the principalities in the heavenly places, and so on and so forth. Well, they thrive in places where wisdom is utterly lacked.
Good, I didn't think about that.
I mean, just look at Hollywood. just look at Hollywood.
I actually wanted to comment on what Stradus said. That's actually something even in a secular sense, like before, that I've learned is like you might not be able to change your situation. Like if your boss is constantly a negative Nancy or whatever, but as a Christian, you come in and it's like, Lord, give me strength, give me patience. Maybe you can talk to them about the gospel, which is really important. Even if nothing like really changes, let's say right there in that moment, what changes is your mind, your outlook, and it's like, you might have more patience. You'll be praying for them, right? Things behind the scenes they might not see. And I think that's really important. Um, Someone who's been kind of struggling today, going back and forth with people and really close to losing my patience and lashing out. I'm just trying to like pray for them that they come to God and that they see that, I haven't been disrespectful to them at all, even though they claim that. And, I feel relatively at peace with that. And I don't really feel like arguing. I'm just praying and being honest about the word. So, yeah, your mindset is what changes. And who knows, maybe later down the line, someone else talks to them about Christ. And, that seed that you planted is watered and it'll grow and God will do the transformation. Um, if that person decides to accept the Lord, might not necessarily be with you, but at the very least, you plant the seed and, someone else waters it. Pretty sure that's a New Testament thing. Forgot what the verse was. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 6 and 7. I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase, so that neither he who plants is anything, nor he who waters, but God who gives the increase. So I feel like I'm kind of going through that right now.
I'm so sorry, Celeste. I'll keep praying for you.
I love you, Pookie.
Stay off of Twitter.
No, wait.
Stay off of
hold on,
Twitter.
hold on. Chapter 9. Where is it?
Stay off of
Oh, is it
Twitter.
chapter 8? I think it's chapter 8.
Yes, chapter 8 clearly states stay off of Twitter.
Hold on. I'll
Is
find
it
it.
Gen Z Bible? Like, what are you reading, Marshall?
Oh, no.
No,
Stop
it was
right
like
Marshall,
about like
are we gonna
giving
read it? Are you gonna read it with me?
No.
who gives
No,
wisdom
what
to
is
the
wrong with you?
scoffer.
No.
One Bible we will
I actually
never
know the
touch.
guy who.
And that is the Queen
I,
James version.
I have a really funny story, really quick. So, I was kind of like bagging on the Gen Z Bible,
Awesome, thank you so much
and
for
then
the
I didn't
raid.
realize a buddy of mine was actually part of the creation of it, and he's like showed up in chat. I'm like, oh
my
wait, bro.
goodness.
And I looked at his Insta, and I was like, oh wait, he's legit. And then like, I felt a little silly, but it was like a good opportunity for humility because it's like, okay, like is there room for strengthening of it and like more biblical grounding to it? Yes. But is there also an opportunity where Gabriel was saying like the statue of the unknown God? Is this an opportunity of that? Where a brain rotted Ohio Skibbity Riz generation could actually kind of somewhat click onto what's being said and then dive deeper in their own time and like kind of that balance. It's a tough line, but so I mean, God can use it for sure, but maybe it's
Absolutely.
it's definitely good
It's
to
a stretch
explore and
for
wrestle
that
with
one.
for sure. Yeah.
Yes. If we can help someone find God through that Bible, that's great.
Me and
That's my take. Oh,
me
sorry.
and a friend want to just to see we want to read the Gen Z Bible on stream at some point.
We're not doing that. No.
I was using the
Me
message for
and
my
Dia
Bible
not
want
studies a
doing
to
long
that.
time
do
ago.
it.
Why?
Because why not?
No.
It's funny.
Don't entertain that nonsense. What are you doing?
Stradus, is the message
no.
like the Gen Z Bible?
I mean, it's like trying to like water down the message to be easily understood. A buddy of mine called it the message commentary as a joke, but then like in
Message
corporate context,
commentary.
I use easy read version in
Uh.
corporate context, like for people to like understand it first glance. And I remember, actually a pretty successful content creator. She was like, I've never heard the Bible read that way before. What Bible are you reading? And I was like, yeah, this one. She's like, I can actually understand what's being said. I was like, yeah, cool. Like if it helps her, awesome. But
I feel it
if
does a
it
disservice
becomes
to the real word of God.
to a point, of course, to a point.
Right. I mean, I know you're doing it for a joke, Belle. I do know that.
I don't
It is
know
funny.
if I really do it.
No,
It's an
I know you're
idea.
kidding. No, right, I know. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not upset either, but I think it's a huge disservice to the real word of God. It's
Sure, yeah.
it's dumbed down to a really disrespectful degree, I think.
Was it that bad?
I
It's
think so. Absolutely, yes.
interesting, to say
Interesting
the
is
least.
Ooh.
one of the it's one of the greatest euphemisms to describe it ever.
'Cause,
Interesting, yeah.
It is a
I would
translation of
say
all time.
It's like I put a
it's bad,
snippet
yes,
of
it's
it in
bad.
my chat at one point. I can't even find it, but it was just wild. I read the first line and I was like, no way. Ain't no way. I want to find it because I just that one line had me like messed up.
But okay, here I found it. Chapter 9, verses 7 through 8 was the Twitter thing. The shout out to Twitter, right? Whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury.
Ooh,
Do not reprove a
yes.
scoffer, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he will love you.
Yes. Stay off of Twitter, Celeste.
I found what
Stay
I was
off of
talking
Twitter.
about with like one of the like the third verse in the Gen Z Bible. I'm gonna read it. It's questionable, but this is Genesis verse 3. And it just says, then God was like, yo, let there be light. And boom, there was light. That's literally what it says.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Oh no. Well, I guess that's a good time to look at the next readings.
Yeah.
Let's see, Stradus, you got 10 to 12.
And in the Gen Z Bible. Okay.
The
Okay,
Gen Z
I'll read.
Bible is banned from this
it's-
stream. Amen.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I'm putting my foot down. We're not touching it. We're not
Marshall's like,
touching
I hear
that.
that. I am leaving the call.
I feel like it should go without saying. But
Proverbs 10. No, ESV, because that's the
Yes.
one we want here. It's fine. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish son is a sorrow to his mother. Treasure gained by wickedness do not profit, but righteousness delivers from death. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but he thwarts the craving of the wicked. A slack hand causes poverty, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. He who gathers in summer is a prudent son, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who brings shame. Blessings are on the head of the righteous, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. The memory of the righteous is a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot. The wise of heart will receive commandments, but a babbling fool will come to ruin. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his ways crooked will be found out. Whoever winks the eye causes trouble, and a babbling fool will come to ruin. The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. On the lips of him who has understanding, wisdom is found, but a rod is for the back of him who lacks sense. The wise lay up knowledge, but the mouth of a fool brings ruin near. A rich man's wealth is his strong city. The poverty of the poor is their ruin. The wage of the righteous leads to life, the gain of the wicked to sin. Whoever heeds instructions is on the path to life, but he who rejects reproof leads others astray. The one who conceals hatred has lying lips, and whoever utters slander is a fool. When words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whoever restrains his lips is prudent. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver, the heart of the wicked is of little worth. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for lack of sense. The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Doing wrong is like a joke to a fool, but wisdom is pleasure to a man of understanding. What the wicked dreads will come upon him, but the desire of the righteous will be granted. When the tempest passes, the wicked is no more, but the righteous is established forever. Like vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is the sluggard to those who send him. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be short. The hope of the righteous brings joy, but the expectation of the wicked will perish. The way of the Lord is a stronghold to the blameless, but destruction to evildoers. The righteous will never be removed, but the wicked will not dwell in the land. The mouth of the righteous brings forth wisdom, but the perverse tongue will be cut off. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable, but the mouth of the wicked what is perverse. Chapter 11. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroys them. Riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. The righteousness of the blameless keep his way straight, but the wicked falls by his own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright delivers them, but the treacherous are taken captive by their lust. When the wicked dies, his hope will perish, and the expectation of wealth perishes too. The righteous is delivered from trouble, and the wicked walks into it instead. With his mouth the godless man would destroy his neighbor, but by knowledge the righteous are delivered. When it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices, and when the wicked perish, there are shouts of gladness. By the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted, but by the mouth of the wicked it is overthrown. Whoever belittles his neighbor lacks sense, but a man of understanding remains silent. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets, but he who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a thing covered. Where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors there is safety. Whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer harm, but he who hates striking hands in pledge is secure. A gracious woman gets honor, and a violent man get riches. A man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself. The wicked earns deceptive wages, but the one who sows righteousness gets a sure reward. Whoever is steadfast in righteousness will live, but he who pursues evil will die. Those of crooked heart are an abomination to the Lord, but those of blameless ways are his delight. Be assured, an evil person will not go unpunished, but the offspring of the righteous will be delivered. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman without discretion. Desire of the righteous ends only in good, the expectation of the wicked in wrath. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give, and only suffers want. Whoever brings blessings will be enriched, and one who waters himself will be watered. One who waters will himself be watered, sorry. The people curse him who holds back grain, but a blessing is on the head of him who sells it. Whoever diligently seeks good seeks favor, but evil comes to him who searches for it. Whoever trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. Whoever troubles his own household will inherit the wind, and the fool will be servant to the wise of heart. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and whoever captures souls is wise. If the righteous is repaid on earth, how much more the wicked and the sinner? And chapter 12. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid. A good man obtains favor from the Lord, but a man of evil devices he condemns. A man of evil devices he condemns. No one is established by wickedness, but the root of the righteous will never be moved. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who brings shame is like rottenness in his bones. The thoughts of the righteous are just. The counsels of the wicked are deceitful. The words of the wicked lie in wait for blood, but the mouth of the upright delivers them. The wicked are overthrown and no more, but the house of the righteous will stand. A man is commended according to his good sense, but one of twisted mind is despised. Better to be lowly and have a servant than to play the great man and lack bread. Wherever is righteous has regard for the life of his beast, but the mercy of the wicked is cruel. Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits lacks sense. Whoever is wicked covets the spoils of evildoers, but the root of the righteous bears fruit. An evil man is ensnared by the transgression of his lips, but the righteous escapes from trouble. From the fruit of his mouth a man is satisfied with good, and the work of a man's hand comes back to him. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. The vexation of a fool is known at once, but the prudent ignores an insult. Whoever speaks the truth gives honest evidence, but a false witness utters deceit. There is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. Deceit is in the heart of those who devise evil, but those who plan peace have joy. No ill befalls the righteous, but the wicked are filled with trouble. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are his delight. A prudent man conceals knowledge, but the heart of fools proclaims folly. The hand of the diligent will rule, while the slothful will be put to forced labor. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. One who is righteous is a guide to his neighbor, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Whoever is slothful will not roast his game, but the diligent man will get precious wealth. In the path of righteousness is life, and in its pathway there is no death. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Stradus.
So, one of my favorite verses in all the Bible. Chapter 12, verse 1. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. I'm reading from the NIV. I love the way that is translated so much, because it's true. It is true. We must love wisdom. Everyone, we must love wisdom and the intellect that God gave us. There is so many. I keep losing the words. there are so many. I would say pseudo intellectuals that are guiding the world today, that are guiding and influencing the people in our society, that claim to have all of the answers, that claim to be very profound and deep thinkers, and yet they're some of the most arrogant people that you've ever seen in your life. The most pompous, the most the most proud, the most self-assured. They believe themselves. They've made their intellect their god. But our intellect is not to be used as a means of pride and reaping glory for oneself. It is a gift that God has given us to use with prudence and with care and careful deliberation. And the misuse of our intellect has reaped a wealth of cult of personalities, of philosophies that are simply, they run contrary to God and what is truly of His nature good. We have a multitude of ideologies that sound very good on paper. Everyone thinks that their ideas are good. We have here today, in the age of information, being transacted and being sent through every channel over the web to all corners of the world. We have people, excuse me, that essentially become armchair intellectuals overnight. They think themselves professors, psychology majors, philosophy majors. You know, those with credentials that can speak on these things with absolute certainty and authority. Yet there's a lack of God. There's a lack of God in all of it. There's a distinct lack of true wisdom that comes from the Word, that comes from fearing God, fearing Christ, because the world has made its intellect its God in a big portion of it. And I was a victim of that too. I made my intellect my God. I was very self-assured for most of my life. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought I was the smartest person that could possibly exist in a room. I thought I was the one who had all the secrets, all the keys, to all this knowledge and this, that, the other. I thought I understood the enigmatic mystery that was life in the human condition. But really, it was simply the foolishness of man. And as the word says, it was the wisdom of man. And as the word says, the wisdom of men is foolishness to God. And what you think you might understand, you know in fact very little about. We know so little. And as the word also says, if God is not in it, it is useless. Whatever wisdom you think you may have procured for yourself, whatever intellect, however you've developed it, however smart you think you are, however many IQ tests you pass with your IQ in the high triple digits, it doesn't matter if you have no God in it to reinforce all your bluster, all of your rhetoric, everything, every assertion you make. None of it matters if God is absent from the equation. Sorry, my dogs are barking.
You good?
That's all I wanted to say.
I hope this doesn't detract, but I feel like it's kind of a silly example. Like, I mean, even D&D has wisdom and intelligence as separate stats. Like, we easily blur the two and think it's one thing.
Right. Right.
Intelligence is your accumulation of knowledge, what you
That's
know.
funny.
Wisdom is how you apply it.
Correct.
So,
yes. Wisdom is
and
nothing.
intelligence, yeah.
If I was going to, sorry, just really
You're good.
quickly, you can go on your entire life. I don't know where this came from. I guess just, man's understanding, really. But the idea, the notion that with age comes wisdom is wrong. It can. Absolutely it can. 100%. But if, and only if, you actually use what you've learned, if you apply yourself accordingly to all of that experience you've accumulated over the years. If you don't do anything with all of that experience as you live throughout your life, and then, the next thing you know, you're in your late 80s. But if you do absolutely nothing throughout your entire life, just accumulating experience, but doing absolutely nothing with it, applying yourself in a way that indicates that you've actually learned something, then you've reaped no wisdom whatsoever. Wisdom doesn't just produce itself. You have to do something with yourself to earn it, to reap it. You have to mold that experience into something that reveals wisdom within you. That shows that you have in fact learned something as a result of having lived through what you lived through. Otherwise, all you have is unused experience. It's just like iron ingots, or gold ingots. The gold doesn't just magically become a gold bar. It remains an ingot until you smelt it, and then mold it into a gold bar. It doesn't just magically will itself into a gold bar after you mine it. So, in the same way with wisdom, you can do whatever you want with this, with your philosophies of what wisdom actually is, or what how profound of a learned philosopher you are, right? But if you have nothing to show for it, ultimately, if you have all of this experience and you have all of these adages that you have stored up on your belt to just kind of sling at anybody like some sort of soothsayer, or like some sort of sage, right? But you yourself actually don't apply any of what you teach. And the same thing goes for the Word of God. If you simply, and it says in James, don't just simply read the Word, apply it on a daily basis. Apply it to your, do what it says on a daily basis. If you're just simply reading, all you're doing is storing verses and chapters in your head. What good is it if you don't use it? What good is your experience if you don't use it to reap real wisdom? If you don't use it to shape and adapt your person accordingly in a way that would reap wisdom?
Parable of the talents comes to mind. Could have all this knowledge,
said the
all this
talents?
intelligence,
That's
yeah,
right.
and just bury it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
see,
right.
it's right here, God.
No
It's right here. I kept
stewardship.
it nice and contained, right?
Yeah, if you don't have stewardship, but if you have talent, but no stewardship or no will to use it, what is it doing, if not collecting dust? Well, that's all it's doing. Collecting dust. That's it.
Speaking of, are you all familiar with echo chambers?
I
Chamber,
am. I am.
chamber.
Yes. In the age of the internet and social media, I very much.
All right. So, when it comes to echo chambers, and for those who don't know, an echo chamber is when you are a part of a group, you kind of shelter yourself in that group because you only want to hear what you want to hear. Essentially, is a good short summary of what it is. But in that sense, especially online, we find many pockets of. I almost said pockets of reality. That's fine. That's fine. So, in everyone's little communities, we have these little pockets of reality where we might find people only listening to what they want to hear about their lives and what they want to hear moving forward. And in that sense, are we living in that sort of world where we're only listening and hearing things that go on in our lives and understanding it from that perspective? And when we take the word, do we know enough to bring it to places that we aren't familiar with? For example, I wonder if some churches only talk with people they're familiar with, only interact with people they know, only have discussions within their denomination, only talk within that group. And others might be evangelizing. They might be going all over the country, learning more about these different cultures, these different areas in the world that some other churches might never even reach out to. And in a sense, if we're just sitting at our own church, sort of reviewing the word, are we really learning and refining our knowledge, or are we just kind of sitting in a circle, giving ourselves the love of God, but not others? And I guess in that sense, we have to find a way to reach out to everyone in the world because everyone deserves the love of God and to understand the love of God. And if we're just sitting back and never interacting in that way, will those people never be reached? And it's important that we overcome these echo chambers that have been created throughout society, whether it's in our own churches or if it's within the different locations that we need to be looking into. And I guess not only do we need to learn more about the word and learn to incorporate it in our lives, but we need to learn when it is good to speak, and when we don't know something, when it's good to hold our tongue. Because it would be bad if we were trying to teach someone the word and we were to misdirect them away from what is true and what God has taught us. Because obviously we don't know everything, but we desire to learn more. And if we're beginning to teach someone else about the word, but we don't know the answer, are we saying, I'll get back to you, I will help you in the future, or I can redirect you to someone who does know? Or are we just giving them the answer that comes up in our head? Are we just kind of saying, yeah, it's whatever, man? No, we need to have that knowledge. We need to understand the best we can. And if we can't answer something, we need to humble ourselves and recognize that, hey, this is an important question. I would love to get back in touch with you. I would love to talk with you more about this. I do need to look into this a bit more. And we can come back to it. Because the truth is, if we are stuck in these echo chambers, if something new comes out, we might not even be ready for it. We might not know where to come at this new topic from. And I just think that's fascinating. And I think a huge part of sorry, I apparently ran out of all hydration in my body because my throat just dried up in an instant. Excuse me. But like for example, chapter 12, it's very focused on the importance of speech and the knowledge of the words that we're using to speak. And I think it's just really important to really look into that. Even my cup's dry. Oh, I'm so sad. I just looked into it. It was just like there's like a single drop at the bottom.
Hey, buddy. My dog
So
just
yeah.
sneak attacked right next to me. Sorry.
What kind of dog do you have? No, it's okay. I love dogs. Well, I guess maybe I shouldn't. I'm just excited about the dog. I apologize, everybody.
You're good. I am distracted. I'm gonna mute for a second.
Absolutely. So now that I'm just talking with two muted people and well, Belle and Marshall, I'm hi. How are y'all
Hi.
doing? I
Very good.
I think I would like to look back at the beginning of chapter 12 because like Marshall had said, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid, you know? And that is the sense that there are people who desire knowledge both in and out of the faith, and there are people who push away knowledge both in and out of the faith. And as Christians, as people who are of the faith, we should strive to desire this knowledge. But we should also recognize that there are some people who will remain, well, I guess, abstain from the knowledge that we have to offer, the love of God.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, that's essentially on them, but they're always welcome to learn when they need to and they want to. And we really need to offer this to people who are willing to learn very openly, but if they are willing to learn, are we teaching them the right words? So essentially, when we get that chance, it's really important that we do know what we're talking about because we do want to be able to help everyone around us. Because it's not just me, it's not just Belle, it's not just the pastor, it's not just Celeste, it's not just Stradus or Marshall. It's all of us are called to learn more about our faith and to share it with everyone we interact with because everyone deserves the love of God. And it gets hard at times, but it doesn't mean that we can't. Um, it doesn't mean that we can't help them.
Right, but people need to be willing, like you said, and a lot of people are not willing more times than not, whether it's because they already have a bad view of Christianity or they don't feel convicted in their sin to want to learn more. And I don't know. I mean, it depends. A lot of lawlessness, I think, with my generation, Gen Z, um, it's been a do as you will mindset and no proper guidance and stuff. So, I mean, I've noticed in a lot of more older churches or certain denominations that there's not a lot of young people. And I always ask myself why. And is it that they're not willing to learn? Are they going to other churches? Is it true that Gen Z, is mostly like atheist? And then I see people like Bryce Crawford, and he's going out there and he's evangelizing to people in my age group
Mm-hmm.
and younger, and it's really good. I don't agree with everything that he says, and you know, but he's doing something. He's reaching out to people our age, and I think that's really important. And I think an important part on our end is that we need to be able to answer questions. We need to be able to answer the tough questions and be solid in our faith, like you mentioned, Gabe. If not, um, when these younger people start asking, about God, about salvation, and we're not able to answer, or there's a million and five mixed opinions, it creates confusion and chaos. Obviously, it's not an excuse, but I think it would help, um, you know, us being young people to go out there and evangelize. I've done it before. It can be scary, but it's a good experience to be able to talk to people. Um, praying for them, being open, being loving, being at peace with God. And some people will see that, some will reject the message. And that verse I brought up from First Corinthians, we're called to plant the seed. Some of us are going to water a seed someone else planted. And if that person accepts the gospel, the message, God will start that transformation within them. So I guess it goes kind of both ways. The person who's listening and us as well.
Yeah. Adding on to that, I think something equally as important, almost like the other side of the same coin, um, honesty and humility. Like, do we need to be the encyclopedia that knows every answer? No. But if we go to the opposite extreme where we don't feed ourselves, we don't sharpen ourselves, we don't sharpen each other, um, if I'm just saying, "Oh, I don't know, that's a great question to every question," okay, why am I bothering asking you then, right? But, sometimes we kind of can build our knowledge up as our pride. Like, old, long time ago, Stradus, when I wanted to, first year on campus, wanted to debate all the cults and prove them wrong and prove that, God is good and stuff. Yeah, that didn't go well. Spoiler alert. But like, if someone asks a question that either is like, wow, that's such a profound question, I actually don't know, like, that can bring more progress than just trying to panically craft an answer sometimes too, saying, I don't know, let's explore this together. What would that look like? Or maybe it's just a question that just catches you so off guard. Like, I've never thought about that. Thank you for bringing that up. And you can change it into an invitation. And I think that's, wisdom where knowledge might not be sufficient sometimes. And knowledge isn't supposed to be sufficient because we lean on our own understanding. The Bible tells us not to do that. We should rely on God. And, but of course, it isn't our license to be ignorant intentionally, kind of thing.
I guess we're waiting for Marshall before I.
Oh, sorry. What am I? What?
Oh, he's here? Is everybody here?
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been here.
Oh, excellent.
I've been here
Did
the whole time.
anybody have anything else that they wanted to add? Sorry, I thought someone went AFK.
No, you're fine.
I'm just gonna switch to my phone because I need to get ready for
Mm.
the workout I
Okay.
got to do.
Yes.
Is he
Um,
fuck out?
yeah, I gotta train
For
some
Reach.
peeps online for Reach, and
Mm.
then so I'll dip at the top of the hour. If you guys are still going, I'll gladly hop back in after. It's only 20 minutes, so
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Unlikely.
we'll be.
Unlikely.
Yeah,
okay,
we'll
Yeah.
probably be done. Try not to
Yeah.
do
touche.
that too much, but I have 13 to 15. I'll be starting at Proverbs chapter 13.
Hmm.
And as a reminder, guys, we're reading from the ESV, but you can follow along with whatever translation you have. I saw a lot of arguing on translations, and yes. A
Yeah.
wise son
I'm
hears his
sorry.
father's instruction, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. From the fruit of his mouth a man eats what is good, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence. Whoever guards his mouth preserves his life. He who opens wide his lips comes to ruin. The soul of a sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. The righteous hates falsehood, but the wicked brings shame and disgrace. Righteousness guards him whose way is blameless, but sin overthrows the wicked. One pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth. The ransom of a man's life is his wealth, but a poor man hears no threat. The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked will be put out. By insolence comes nothing but strife, but with those who take advice is wisdom. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. Whoever despises the word brings destruction on himself, but he who reveres the commandment will be rewarded. The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. Good sense wins favor, but the way of the treacherous is their ruin. Every prudent man acts with knowledge, but a fool flaunts his folly. A wicked messenger falls into trouble, but a faithful envoy brings healing. Poverty and disgrace come to him who ignores instruction, but whoever heeds reproof is honored. A desire fulfilled is sweet to the soul, but to turn away from evil is an abomination to fools. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Disaster pursues sinners, but the righteous are rewarded with good. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for the righteous. The, the fallow ground of the poor would yield much food, but is swept away through injustice. Whoever spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him. The righteous has enough to satisfy his appetite, but the belly of the wicked suffers want. I knew my mom using the chancla when I was a kid was wise. Very base, mom. Thanks. Proverbs chapter 14. The wisest of women builds her house, but folly with her own hands tears it down. Whoever walks in uprightness fears the Lord, but he who is devious in his ways despises him. By the mouth of a fool comes a rod for his back, but the lips of the wise will preserve them. Where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. A scoffer seeks wisdom in vain, but knowledge is easy of a man of understanding. Leave the presence of a fool for there you do not meet words of knowledge. The wisdom of the prudent is to discern his way, but the folly of fools is deceiving. Fools mock at the guilt offering, but the upright enjoy acceptance. The heart knows its own bitterness, and no stranger shares its joy. The house of the wicked will be destroyed, but the tent of the upright will flourish. There is a way that seems right to man, but its end is the way to death. Even in laughter, the heart may ache, and the end of joy may be grief. The backslider in heart will be filled with the fruit of his ways, and a good man will be filled with the fruit of his ways. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps. One who is wise is cautious and turns away from evil, but a fool is reckless and careless. A man of quick temper acts foolishly, and a man of evil devices is hated. The simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. The evil bow down before the good, the wicked at the gates of the righteous. The poor is disliked even by his neighbor, but the rich has many friends. Whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor. Do they not go astray who devise evil? Those who devise good meet steadfast love and faithfulness. In all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. The crown of the wise is their wealth, but the folly of fools brings folly. A truthful witness saves lives, but one who breathes out lies is deceitful. In the fear of the Lord, one has strong confidence, and his children will have a refuge. The fear of the Lord is the fountain of life, that one may turn away from the snares of death. In a multitude of people is the glory of a king, but without people a prince is ruined. Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. A tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bones rot. Whoever oppresses a poor man insults his maker, but he who is generous to the needy honors him. The wicked is overthrown through his evil doing, but the righteous finds refuge in his death. Wisdom rests in the heart of a man of understanding, but it makes itself known even in the midst of fools. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. A servant who deals wisely has the king's favor, but his wrath falls on one who acts shamefully. Proverbs chapter 15. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouths of fools pour out folly. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch on evil and the good. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks the spirit. A fool despises his father's instruction, but whoever heeds reproof is prudent. In the house of the righteous there is much treasure, but trouble befalls the income of the wicked. The lips of the wise spread knowledge, not so the heart of fools. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is acceptable to him. The way of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but he loves him who pursues righteousness. There is severe discipline for him who forsakes the way. Whoever hates reproof will die. Sheol and Abaddon lie open before the Lord. How much more the hearts of children of man? A scoffer does not like to be reproved. He will not go to the wise. A glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrow of heart the spirit is crushed. The heart of him who has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouths of fools feed on folly. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but the cheerful of heart has a continual feast. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great treasure and trouble with it. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is, than a fattened ox and hatred with it. A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger quiets contention. The way of a sluggard is like a hedge of thorns, but the path of the upright is a level highway. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. Folly is a joy to him who lacks sense, but a man of understanding walks straight ahead. Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisers, they succeed. To make an apt answer is a joy to a man, and a word in season, how good it is. The path of life leads upward for the prudent, that he may turn away from Sheol beneath. The Lord tears down the house of the proud, but maintains the widow's boundaries. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord, but gracious words are pure. Whoever is greedy for unjust gain troubles his own household, but he who hates bribes will live. The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. The Lord is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayers of the righteous. The light of the eyes rejoices the heart, and good news refreshes the bones. The ear that listens to life-giving reproof will dwell among the wise. Whoever ignores instruction despises himself, but he who listens to reproof gains intelligence. The fear of the Lord is instruction in wisdom, and humility comes before honor. This chapter
Yippee.
15. Sorry about the joke I made.
No, you're fine.
But I guess
Mm.
Hispanic moms using the chancla is pretty based now.
La chancla.
La chancla.
It was in good taste. No, it was good.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I do have to go now, but thank you so much for having me. Thank you, God,
Absolutely,
for doing
brother.
your
Yeah,
thing and
thank you,
moving.
Stradus.
What an awesome
Thank you
time.
for joining.
Yeah.
Amen.
It was
Thank you,
just as
brother.
Joker said earlier in the chat. It's been a real blessing having you. So
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank
absolutely,
you, God.
yes.
But
And
have
there's
a
no
great.
reason why we can't have you again in the future.
Eee.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yippee!
Yippee!
Yippee.
All right. Have a great rest of the study, everybody. Take care.
God
Yes,
bless
thank
you,
you very
Stradus.
Take
It
care,
was
much.
really
God bless you,
Stradus.
sir.
sir.
He's gone.
Hmm. We'll
And
give a
then
little
there
brief
were four of us.
annotation of Proverbs 15. The Lord detests the thoughts of the wicked, but those who are pure are pleasing to him. A greedy man brings trouble to his family, but he who hates bribes will live. I, I, I've always been a sucker for the underdog and men of integrity. They're just so endearing, and God is naturally, in his all good nature, he loves goodness. And to see that he lavishes our, because of course we live in a world that is very hostile to good people. And so to see that we have a fair God where life is unfair, to serve as the arbiter of truth, who works in favor of us, is incredibly relieving. And it brings joy to my heart when I see that he lavishes us. And despite the world's constant attempts, to see us snuffed out, to see us conform to the way it lives, to the way that it is, and the way that it wants us to be. That God will not, he will stay our hand, with his own. He'll guide us with his wise hand, and he will bless us for our efforts and sufferings.
A verse that I'd like to bring up is from chapter 14, verse 12, where it says, "There's a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death." And I don't want to keep bringing up today, but just seeing how a lot of people, even when you bring them scripture, they'll try to find a way to twist it and say, well, it really meant this, or that the Bible was changed like this. And
Right.
it's like, you guys claim to be Christian, or you say that you understand the Bible, but you probably haven't really read it. And I mean, I haven't finished the entire Bible, but I've read enough to see, like, yeah, some things are really clear. Some things are not really up for
Mm-hmm.
interpretation, very straightforward. Um, and so when we choose our ways over God's way, or we think that we're right, but God's word says the opposite, right? That we're wrong in a lot of things. It just makes me wonder. And I mean, I've also been guilty of it myself, not listening to good
Mm-hmm.
counsel. And that's why a lot of things have gone wrong in my life the way they have. But, when I trust in the Lord and I have that fear and I want to follow Him, things usually turn out pretty okay. And, um, encourage all of us, even if we have had years, right, in the faith, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be know-it-alls, because we might be complacent in our walk after so many years thinking like, yeah, I know everything. But it's never a bad idea to go
Right.
back and revisit stuff and really check ourselves, right, if we're truly
Mm-hmm.
walking with God, or are we just paying lip service. And I mean, the same goes for me, of course. No matter
Absolutely.
how many years, it's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of ups and downs, and I've definitely turned away
Mm-hmm.
from God more than once. So, um, don't let the years become a source of pride. Sure, you might be a little more seasoned than a new believer, but don't forget the zeal that you once had when you first came to the Lord or returned to the Lord as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very important that we don't allow the familiarity of the faith, serve as a sort of stumbling block that um, puts us in a state of stagnation
Mhm.
or complacency. We become so familiar that we begin to take for granted God, and His grace, and really what we've learned, the basics. We forget the basics because we've drowned it out. We've buried the most rudimentary aspects, the most core fundaments of the faith under just a mountain of legalism, a mountain of tradition and biblical teaching that, I mean, yes, is very important, but our mind becomes so distracted with, I guess, it lost in the details, the nuances, that the overarching message begins to lose sort of its effect, which is very dangerous. Um, we should regularly revisit what we would call the basics, as Paul would say, the spiritual milk, as opposed to spiritual hard food, solid food. There's no shame in going back to the core fundaments. It's essential to not lose sight or integrity. Either one of you have
Absolutely.
a quick annotation so we can.
I I don't. I don't have anything. I'm sorry.
You don't have to apologize. You're fine. You're fine.
Wee. Wee.
Wait.
It is indeed 9:02.
Oh my
Goo goo
gosh.
gaga. I'm sorry.
What?
I hate it
I
here.
didn't sign up for the. I didn't sign
I
up for the
hate it here.
nursery.
You say you okay? Look, you're making the wah sound. The opportune moment was there. It was there.
Oh, Dia's here. Hello, Dia.
Unfortunately, she is. Yes.
All right.
Oh,
Unfortunately, she's
That's
there. Yeah.
crazy work. Yes,
I mean,
clip
oh,
farm
sorry.
this
Hello,
man,
dear.
chat.
Hi.
Do it. Amen. Clip farm him. This is what we're here for the word and your entertainment. Amen.
Primarily the word, but yeah.
Yeah, primarily the word for me, but yeah.
Right. So,
All right.
Gabriel, anything to denote before we close?
I got so distracted by the memes. Well, nothing better than to reword the word to focus my mind again. So Proverbs 13. A wise son hears his father's instruction, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. From the fruit of his mouth a man eats what is good, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence. The most important thing about instruction is the instruction we get for our faith, right? And I guess it's just, to me, it's very beautiful that we can continue to use, I can't remember the word I want to use for this, but essentially the connections in using fruit as a sort of a relative term between both the Old and New Testament, something that food is still present in our lives thousands of years after these passages were written. The fruit of his mouth, a man eats what is good. But the desire of the treacherous is for violence. And I mean, I could go through the whole passage again and just find different connections, but in reality, what the connection I want to make is that the word is like a good fruit, and we are trying to spread the seed of God everywhere we can, where the farmer would sow his seed. And in that sense, we're hoping to bring good fruit to as many places as we can. So when we use our words, we try to bring people to life. And when we betray the Lord, are we putting the people we care about to death? When we misdirect them, when we cause them to stumble, the desire of the treacherous is for violence. You know, violence, the ultimatum of violence is death. And I think that's something we might overlook in this sense, right? Is that losing one's soul is death. When we want to live forever with God, we cannot let our souls be put to death by this sort of integration of sin in our lives. And I suppose that this entire book has a lot to do with focusing on discipline so that we really not only understand the word, but have access to it so we can give it to others and show them how much God loves us. And like we had been saying earlier, getting down to the basics, well, love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love with your neighbor as yourself. And to love the neighbor as ourselves, well, we would have to know all about the Lord and his love for us so that we can give it to everyone around us, so that we can share that
not only with the people around us, but with ourselves, so that we grow disciplined, so that we grow away from sin, so that we can overcome these things and really grow to love one another and show them the love of God. I think I'm going to
I would
have
agree with that.
to. Oh,
Hmm.
sorry.
No,
Oh, I
go
was just
ahead.
going to say,
Go
I
ahead.
think I'm going to have to go through these passages again and just like focus on specific verses and
Mhm.
like review them for myself, because
That would be good.
I
That would
think
be
a
good.
lot of them are things I need to work on.
Yes, I'm right there with you. Much of what I read today, as well as what Celeste read in 13 through 15, is very poignant, I think. Um, it's been a very good discussion, though. It's bred a lot of good discussion. This was definitely a very, how would you say, for lack of a better term, topical. Very topical Bible reading. Ugh.
Yeah, Proverbs
Proverbs is
definitely
yeah.
brings up a lot of um good things to talk about, and it's a good reminder. I know it gets like
Hmm.
similar to Psalms, it does get repetitive, but I think sometimes we really do need that reminder. So I really
Yeah,
do
we
enjoy
do.
the Book of Proverbs.
Mhm.
I'm really
We need
excited
it
for Proverbs
ingrained in our mind.
31 though.
Same.
Proverbs 31.
Proverbs
Yes,
31,
the
my goat.
Proverbs 31 woman,
I feel like I should. Oh yes,
the
yes. That's
tomboy
right.
that the Lord
Yeah,
has
okay,
given today.
okay.
Silly stuff. A little
The
humor to end your night.
uh,
Thank you. I'll be here all night.